What's going on, knuckleheads? It's George with Fighters Rep, and we're live at 9 the way we usually are. And we're going to be talking about, we're going to start out with Nate Diaz failing a drug test potentially. USADA has flagged Nate Diaz for elevated levels of something or other. Nate Diaz has not revealed, neither has anyone else revealed what the potential substance is. But it looks like USADA has flagged Nate Diaz. Something was elevated in his system. I would imagine it's testosterone. He's saying or alluding to the fact that it may be a tainted supplement. And this is really bad news for the BMF title at UFC 244. One of the most exciting sought after and anticipated fights. It was going to be him versus Jorge Masvidal, my homie from Miami, to see who the biggest gangster, who the baddest mother flower in the game is. And it just doesn't look like it's going to happen now. But Nate, it didn't look like it was going to happen up until about an hour ago. Then a tweet was put out by Ariel Helwani saying that Nate Diaz has not been provisionally suspended. So I guess they have to go through the motions to determine whether they're going to suspend him or not. So the fight is potentially still on. Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal. But I'm sure there's going to be some hurdles to get over. And I hope it goes through because these are two of the most exciting guys in the sport. Two guys with a huge cult following. And everybody wants to see them throw down, especially at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Man, that would be a sick fight. Jorge Masvidal versus Nate Diaz. Hopefully we don't lose it. So Nate Diaz went ahead. He put out a tweet. He put out his little statement. A very Nate Diaz-esque statement. But actually, I thought it was a little bit more articulate than he usually is. But basically, this is what he said, knuckleheads. He says, I'm not going to make it out to NYC for fight week next week because they say I tested with elevated levels that they say might be from some tainted supplements. I call false on that. I only take whole food or natural food supplements. I don't even eat meat. So until UFC, USADA, or whoever's fucking with me fixes it, I won't be competing. I'm not going to play their game and try to hide it or keep quiet as they suggested. I'm not going to have my name tainted as a cheater like these other motherfuckers who keep quiet until after the fight just to say that they can get paid or just so that they can get paid. Fucking cheaters. I don't give a fuck about some money over my dignity and my legacy. I'm not playing along with this bullshit. I'm not staying quiet and figuring it out after the fight. That's cheating. So fight game, I'll see you when I see you. Sincerely, the baddest motherfucker in the game. And then he did a fist emoji. What's interesting is, since this transpired not too long ago, it looks like Conor McGregor, never one to miss out on an opportunity to catch some limelight, went ahead already and threw his name into the hat as a potential replacement opponent for Jorge Masvidal. I can guarantee you that would be a massive fight if that happened. And then another response that I saw to this that I thought was hilarious was Dustin Poirier actually put out a tweet saying, hey man, you said everybody's on steroids, you cheating motherfucker, basically something like that. And then he said, you pulled out of a fight with me as well, you fake gangster. So Dustin Poirier definitely disgusted by this. And it's extremely ironic that Nate Diaz, who's also always claiming that everybody's on steroids, gets popped for some foreign banned substance, whatever it is, or for elevated levels or whatever's going to happen. We'll see. He has looked. I'm not saying he's guilty. We got to wait until the results come out. But we all have to admit he's looking rather chiseled lately. And I've never seen him in that kind of condition. And so it makes you wonder, is some sort of supplement he's taking tainted? Is it messing with, something in his body to cause elevated levels of testosterone? Who knows, knuckleheads? We gotta wait. We gotta wait to determine what the heck happened. But Ariel Helwani did indicate, and this was just an hour ago, that according to a source close to the situation, Diaz has not been provisionally suspended. So there is optimism that the fight's still going to go through. And I'm like Vladimir Kraft in the chat, who says, I hope the fight is still on. My goodness, you guys, out of all the people who could have been popped for steroids, this is the last guy, knuckleheads, that I thought would have been flagged by USADA. Not saying he was popped for steroids. Of course, we don't know what the result is yet. And as an attorney, I'm not the kind of guy to go out there and, convict someone or label them as guilty before getting the evidence. Well, some douchebag attorneys do that, but I'm not the kind of guy to do that. I don't think that's right. I think that's slanderous, and that's not the thing we're going to do here. But did he fail because he's on some sort of substance? Are his levels elevated because of some sort of banned substance? Did he know? Did he do this on purpose? What do you think, knuckleheads? I'd love to know what your opinion is on the matter. And if you agree with me that he's looking rather chiseled lately, I've never seen him in that condition, and it's kind of weird that at this point in his career that he's in that sort of condition. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. I'd greatly appreciate your opinions on that. So before I go on and start acknowledging everybody in the chat, I appreciate you guys so much for joining. Definitely be sure to click the subscribe button below. I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, donate to the super chat, get your Fighters Rep gear, or buy anything from Amazon in the link below. We're an Amazon affiliate, so after you click that link, it'll take you to some hand wraps. But anything you buy after clicking that link, we'll get credit for it, and we'd greatly appreciate it. Basically, all the proceeds or anything you guys spend on this channel or for this channel is going to be reinvested right back into Fighters Rep Promotions, where we have the best strikers in the world competing. I will have a date for you guys soon. We will be airing our fights either on YouTube or Fight TV for the upcoming event. I'll let you guys know when that happens. But let's go ahead and check out what's going on in the chat. Vladimir Kraft, appreciate you being on the channel, brother. Says, I hope the fight is still on. Me too, man. It would be a real shame if that BMF belt gets made for no reason. The Mika Reynolds, thank you so much for joining the chat. I really appreciate it. Microdosing testosterone based on his small recent physical change from years past. BMF title on the line. Don't cancel this. I agree, the Mika Reynolds. I hope it doesn't happen. I want to see the BMF title go down. I want to see somebody win that thing. Let's see what's going on. Marco Martinez, the always opinionated Marco Martinez. Nate Diaz is a phony. Gilbert Melendez got popped. Jake Shields got popped. Now him. Oh, baby. Marco Martinez is throwing down the gauntlet. Doesn't sound like somebody who trusts Nate Diaz, who's basically denying this right now. Vladimir Kraft, Nate is right regarding his tweet. So Vladimir believes what Nate Diaz is saying, and Marco Martinez definitely isn't buying what Nate Diaz is selling. Vladimir Kraft, I'd be interested to know why you think that he's being truthful about this. And if you're considering his physical changes as of late, of course, I'm not sure what to believe, to be honest, at this point. I always saw Nate Diaz to be a clean athlete, but you never know in this day and age. And a lot of the times, who knows, it might actually be some sort of tainted supplement. The Mika Reynolds, remember, he healed up from past injuries, was out a few years. Also, on-off small doses of testosterone for a few years. Yeah, he looked good on small amounts of gear. So it sounds like the Mika Reynolds is leaning towards, hey, Nate Diaz might be on some sort of gear. And that's not a good thing for Nate Diaz. Suleiman, appreciate you joining the chat, brother. Always appreciated. He says Nate Diaz has the dumbest fans in the entire sport, claiming some type of conspiracy as if the UFC would purposely lose millions by rigging Diaz's results. You know what, Suleiman? I kind of agree with you on that, man. They would go out of their way to create a BMF belt, make the fight at Madison Square Garden, against Jorge Masvidal, one of the most anticipated fights of the year, going down on November 2nd in New York City at Madison Square Garden. Again, they're creating an entire separate belt just for this fight. And people believe that the UFC would concoct something like this. I mean, you have to be a serious conspiracy theorist, I think, to kind of buy that one. You never know. I mean, perhaps, there's a part of Dana White that kind of wants to get back at them for the bullshit they've done in the past. But, man, I don't see it. Dana White is a guy who's trying to build the sport, who's trying to make money, line his own pockets and the pockets of his business, as every businessman in business should do. And, he's trying to do that, and I don't think that it would be intelligent at all. I think it would be entirely counterproductive for Dana White to be sabotaging his own fight. I mean, it's just very, very strange that people would think that it's a conspiracy to kind of get Diaz out of there. So I'm with you on that one, Suleiman. That's bullshit. Vladimir Kraft says, I heard Leon Edwards might be a replacement option. I think he is a better fighter than Nate, though Nate is fun to watch. Oh, man. Vladimir, I think Leon is a really good fighter. I think Leon is not getting the credit he deserves. I do think Leon is ready for Jorge Masvidal, and I think it would be a fantastic fight. And obviously with, what happened between them in the past, their past history, it would make for a really exciting fight. But I'm not sure if Jorge Masvidal would want that fight. I'm sure he would much rather prefer Diaz. And if you see Jorge Masvidal's response, he says, you're not the baddest motherfucker on the planet. I am, but you're one of the cleanest. So he's signing with Nate Diaz as being a clean fighter. And that's his perspective on that. And obviously, you can tell he wants to fight because it's a big money fight for Jorge Masvidal. It's something that he deserves. So big shout out to my brother Jorge Masvidal from the 305, representing, baby, County of Dade. Suleiman says TRT Diaz, elevated level of testosterone from tainted CBD. I'm not sure that can even happen, but that is pretty funny, Suleiman. Marco Martinez, Leon Edwards is not getting this fight. Usman, Conor, Cowboy, Gaethje, Tony, Khabib would all be much bigger events than Leon Edwards. He has to fight another main eventer. I agree with Marco Martinez. Marco Martinez is looking at this from a business standpoint. And from a business standpoint, a replacement like Leon Edwards, when there's a Conor McGregor available, would never, I don't think it would ever fly. Leon Edwards is just not going to be able to sell enough tickets. He's not going to be a good enough replacement for a Nate Diaz who's got, over 1 million followers on Twitter. So they're going to have to find a big name if they're going to replace Nate Diaz. Again, let's keep in mind that the fight hasn't been canceled yet. Nate Diaz has not been suspended yet. They might just pull what they did with John Jones, where they just move it to California. Bring it over here to California. We don't mind, a little steroids here and there like they did for John Jones. Oh, man. They could just take it to the Indian reservation. What's anybody going to say about it on the Indian reservation? You can do whatever you want on the Indian reservation. Believe me, guys, this is coming from a promoter. Mind you, I haven't done a fight on an Indian reservation yet, and I would love to, but on the Indian reservation, since they've got their own set of rules and laws, then you don't need to abide by all these commissions and rules and stuff. And so I'm kind of, I'm surprised that that's not looked at as an option more often. But that's something that they can do if they wanted to make this fight happen. Or just come to California. Marco Martinez. Okay, Suleiman says all those guys Marco mentioned would need full camps and full press events to sell it, and I don't think any fan would want to see Cowboy in there against Jorge. Leon Scott to the rescue. We'll see. We shall see. Definitely not Cowboy. Cowboy's already been knocked out by Jorge, but I think Conor would be a huge replacement, you guys. And Marco Martinez in the next comment says, I think Conor's the biggest marketable option, but I think Usman would be the most likely, easiest to make. Suleiman says Marco Usman versus Covington is already signed and sealed for December, so he's not an option. And I agree that the promoter would not want to risk that fight in order to make this fight. Marco Martinez, Usman already volunteered. Colby is sweating bullets. He don't lose his title shot again. Marco Martinez, Suleiman, the payday being offered will bring the big boys out. The Mika Reynolds, being in sports, playing full naughty versus taking a little juice. The advantages all the way around, including lifestyle, are staggering. The truth is testosterone is the God's juice. Ask Sylvester Stallone. He in his 70s. The Mika Reynolds, you're right, man. This dude is the most weirdest looking, ripped, jacked 7-year-old I ever seen in my life. And I don't know, man. It's creepy looking at this point. And you're right. Testosterone is God's juice, man. That stuff does wonders for the male and I guess female physique too, for the human physique. Suleiman, Marco, contracts don't work like that. Colby versus Usman is already set. That's true. That's true. I think if they were to make the Usman fight versus Masvidal, that definitely Colby would be able to file a lawsuit on that. I mean, the only way they could overcome that as far as the contract goes is if they kind of all agreed to it. I would imagine that is those are the terms of the contract, that they would all have to agree, probably in writing, that they agree to cancel their fight or maybe delay it so that Usman could take on Masvidal. And I don't see that happening, especially, with Colby wanting the fight as bad as he does. I think Colby would definitely sue. But Colby's been talking a lot of shit lately, you guys. More shit than usual, and directing it at Dana White. So I'm not sure if that's a smart move. And I'm not sure if that's going to go over well for his career. If there's anybody that there's going to be a conspiracy theory against, it's not going to be Nate Diaz. It's going to be Colby Covington. He's going to keep messing around with Dana White, man. And I'm telling you, Dana White's going to fuck his life up. And I've heard some really bad things about Colby Covington from people that are involved in the fight game. He doesn't seem to really be doing a great job at preserving his reputation. Let's say that. And I kind of like his shtick. I think it's kind of funny at times, but obviously sometimes he goes too far. I think recently he said, it was Conor McGregor recently that said in an announcement. Actually, I believe he announced it today that he's coming back, right? So, I mean, Colby called the Brazilians like filthy animals. I thought that was distasteful at the very least. And then Conor McGregor today announced that he's coming back. I believe he's coming back on the 18th of January. He said he's going to be fighting at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And Conor said that the Dagestanis run. They're people that run. Basically, he called out an entire culture or, nation of people and basically called them cowards. I mean, there's got to be a better way to sell a fight than to, basically be a xenophobe. So, I thought that was kind of disgusting by Conor McGregor. It's the fight game, I'm of the view that you should be able to say whatever the hell you want to say, especially on this channel and at Fighters Rep. I welcome everybody's opinion, and you can say whatever you want to say. You really can. But I think when you're talking about an entire nation of people and saying they're all a bunch of cowards, you just sound like you're trying too hard. You sound fucking ignorant, especially the history of the Dagestani people. There's such tough people. They got so many great fighters. And then you're kind of making a real fucking mistake as far as your safety goes, because I don't think that you want to talk that way about an entire culture, especially a culture like the Dagestani culture, and be anywhere near that country at any point in your life, or go to Russia or anything like that, because some of those people might take what you said seriously, man. Not everybody takes things the same way, and I don't agree with people, harming others for, just things that they've said. But at the same time, not everybody is the same. Not everybody can deal with situations like that in a civilized manner. You got to watch your ass sometimes. So he's crazy. Colby Covington's crazy. And they're both crazy. I think they need to tone down the rhetoric a little. But hey, that's just me. Let's see what else everybody is saying. Marco Martinez, Leon Edwards would sell 0 tickets. I agree with that, man. I don't think he would, especially in New York, he wouldn't sell anything. Maybe some pay-per-view, but that's it. Marco Martinez, yes, they do, Suleiman. There is precedent. They will give Colby money to step aside. These contracts are written in chalk. Yeah, I mean, step aside money is, that's a way out of the contract. Here's money. Do you agree? They sign off on it, and that's the way, you kill a contract. You terminate it based on mutual agreement. Marco Martinez, yes, they do, George, the Usman-Colby fight is on a card with 3 titles on the line, including Max Holloway and Amanda Nunes. They can do with dropping the fight. Yeah, but isn't that the main event? I mean, that's a big fight to lose, and I don't think they really need to do that if they've got other options. Marco Martinez, I think they can work it out. Suleiman, sidestepping Colby's title shot for a bigger fight of Masvidal versus Usman would be similar to passing Tony Ferguson up to make Conor Habib rematch. It would look terrible on the UFC. Marco Martinez, they have done that multiple times. Colby and Tony each have one major flaw that hurts their case for big fights, and that is their inactivity. Suleiman, Colby just destroyed Robbie Lawler less than 3 months ago. What do you mean inactivity? Man, Colby Covington really did run through Robbie Lawler, and Colby Covington's cardio is extremely impressive, and I really want to see, as a fan of combat sports, not really a huge fan of, their personalities, but I want to see, as a fan of combat sports, Usman versus Colby. I'd just be interested to see how that fight would play out. What do you guys think about that fight, Usman versus Covington? Who do you guys think wins that fight? I just feel like Usman might be, I don't know, he looks like he might be a little bit bigger, but Covington's cardio, man, he just keeps coming. And I don't know, I feel like that would be a really interesting fight. All the trash talk would make it better. They seem to really want to hurt each other, and they seem to really dislike each other. And that's something that I definitely would want to see. But, back to the topic at hand. Nate Diaz might be out. Let's see. I think by tomorrow or day after at the latest. But I think by tomorrow we should have an answer as to what the substance was, and potentially as to if he's going to get pulled out or not. And then, if he does get pulled out, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. If he does get pulled out, we'll see who the UFC decides to replace him with. I'd be really interested if they didn't pick Conor McGregor, because there's so much money involved there. But you never know. Maybe they also want to preserve Conor. Coming back to fight a surging Jorge Masvidal might not be the best idea for Conor McGregor. So too lucky in the chat. Thank you for joining the chat, brother. He says, "What do you think about the Lomachenko new franchise belt and Haney being upgraded to WBC champ?" What do I think about it? Too lucky. I think you've been on this channel before, and I appreciate you joining us. I think about it the way I feel about a lot of stuff related to boxing. I think it's a lot of bullshit. There are a lot of belts going around. You're basically becoming champion without being a champion. And for, them to just for Devin Haney to just get upgraded to the WBC champ is kind of, what are we ordering through the fucking drive-thru and we're getting a supersize? That's not the way combat sports works. And they should have one fucking belt and they should make Haney and Lomachenko fight for it. So I think that answers your question as to how I feel about that. I think it's a lot of bullshit. Just make Haney and Lomachenko fight each other, man. What the hell is the problem? They're sharing an alphabet belt now, sort of. With Loma getting the franchise belt. The WBC, man, they love all these sanctioning bodies. They love to have these multiple belts, man, because they could just keep charging fees for them and make more and more money, and that's the way they roll, man. It's not the way it should be, but that's the way it is. Suleiman Usman is too well-rounded, I think. Unless Kamaru is too emotional, I don't see him losing. Could be. Peligroso, thank you for joining the chat, my brother. Colby versus Usman is a mirror match. Both pressure wrestlers with endless gas tank. Usman got more pop in his punches. Elbow, Colby got hella volume punching. I agree. That's the difference right there, Peligroso. You're right about that, brother. Hey, if you guys haven't, please subscribe to the channel. Donate to the super chat. Really appreciated. Anything you buy in the links below or whatever, it's all funneled right back into Fighters Rep. You guys, part of the fight game, helping me create this promotion. We did 4 fights this year, and I'm planning on 4 or 5 fights next year. Definitely will keep you posted. I don't know if you guys checked, but today we uploaded another fight. It was a really good fight. Esteban Martinez versus Carlos Trejo. They went at it. We upload our fights. You can watch them for free. Giving back to the fight fans in the fight game. So much appreciated, guys. And please subscribe if you haven't already. And tell your friends to subscribe. Vladimir Kraft. Yeah, I heard Connor said it. It's already in Russian news. Once again, Connor doesn't see the limits of what can be said to make fun and joke. It was disrespectful what he said. Of course it was disrespectful, dude. And you would think he learned his lesson after he got the shit beat out of him by Khabib in that first fight, man. But I don't know. I feel like Connor might be like a little bit sociopathic, if I'm being honest with you guys. He's a bit of a narcissist, and he just can't take a loss. He can't accept defeat, and he's just going to keep going and going with these insults, man. It's ugly. Too lucky. If Nate Diaz doesn't fight, there goes the pay-per-view. You might be right about that one, Too Lucky. But imagine if Conor McGregor, who's already thrown his name in the hat, jumped in to save the day on that fight. I think that would probably be even bigger than the Nate Diaz fight. But who knows? Marco Martinez. I want to see Colby fight for the title. I just think the MSG card is one of the biggest cards of the year. And without the main event, that card is an ESPN2 card. It's got nice fights, but no big fight. Vladimir Kraft. Now Dagestanian people are waiting for Conor near his hotel. He better watch out, man. He's going to mess with the wrong people. And he's going to get his ass kicked for real, for real. MTA 2009, thank you for joining the chat, brother. Much appreciated. He says, it's funny, he called everyone out on steroids before. Nate, that's hilarious. And that's why, if you look at the title of this stream, I wrote, Nate Diaz Fails Drug Test, ? And then I wrote, in parentheses, everyone on steroids, because that was Nate Diaz's line, right? He would always say, oh, they're all on steroids. Everybody's on steroids. And now he gets flagged by USADA. So let's see what it is. I'm not going to convict him yet. I'm not going to accuse him of being on anything that's, remotely like a steroid or a steroid. I don't know what it is yet. Once we have more information, then we'll determine what it is. But it's not looking good, and it's looking very hypocritical at this point with the limited information that we have. Too lucky, I agree with you, brother, man. All just a money grab. And that's what boxing is, and that's why boxing, too lucky, is stagnating much more than the UFC is. That's not to say boxing isn't hot. Boxing is hot, and boxing is growing. But it's stagnating more so than the UFC, which is always surging. They're always investing back into their sport. They're always making the best fight the best. You can only sucker people for so long, you guys. You can't fool the public forever. You can't fool the fight fans like us forever. We know better. Check it out, okay? If you think boxing is more bullshit than MMA, the way it's run and the way the culture is, press the number 1. If you think MMA is more bullshit, press the number 2. I just like to see your opinion. So 1, if you think boxing is more bullshit and corrupt, press 2 in the chat if you think MMA is more bullshit and corrupt. I would imagine that people are going to press 1 because boxing is a lot more of a money grab. It's always A side versus B side. We rarely get the best guys fighting each other. It's complete and utter bullshit. Whereas the UFC, despite the fact, or MMA rather, despite the fact that the UFC is, borderline monopolizing the sport or just doing a better job than everybody else. I don't know if you want to call it monopolizing, but doing a better job. Besides the fact that they're a tyranny over their own promotion and there's no sanctioning bodies involved, they're at least making the best guys fight the best guys, And so I'm always going to appreciate, the UFC as far as that, And then, look at the chat. You guys are already giving your answer. Everybody's pressing a number 1. And guys, what you need to realize is boxing has been around for fucking ever. Boxing has been around since boxing was an Olympic sport in ancient Greece in 688 BC, and modern boxing started in 1904. Okay? So it's just so old, you would think it would have developed, and it's just one of those things that has deteriorated so much. It's literally almost 90 years older than the UFC. UFC 1, I believe happened, 93? So, it's a real shame how crooked boxing is, and how, despite the fact that there's all these different factions and it's a democracy and you got 20 million promoters, and, it shouldn't be just one promoter like in the UFC. Despite all that bullshit, the guy at the UFC is the most competent one, more competent than all these boxing promoters, at least less full of shit, at least. And he makes the best fight the best, and you gotta love that, man. That's what fight fans want. That's what fight fans deserve when they spend their hard-earned money. That's what I try to get done with Fighters Rep Promotions. I make sure all the fights are super tight, super close, that each guy has a chance to win. And that brings out the best in the fighters and makes the best fight. But, this is the boxing bullshit culture and formula. And a lot of times it's the combat sports culture formula. And something that we combat on this channel all the time. Marco Martinez says, too lucky is right. Pay-per-views in peril. I don't think Conor comes out on short notice, but it would be epic. That would be epic for sure. Suleiman, this Nate situation is similar to Dylan White claiming Anthony Joshua is a PED user for years without any proof that White fails a drug test. The irony. That's true, man. That is true. And don't talk too bad about Dylan White. That's my guy, man. I really like that guy. So, but what you're saying is 100% on point. Peligroso, they would have to clean Conor off the canvas with a mop and a sponge after Masvidal went through. I think at this point, Masvidal would probably put a serious beating on Conor. unless Connor's been training like an animal, which I don't think he has been. Luke Thomas has a really interesting take on this, says Marco Martinez. He seems to question USADA's intentions and validity. I just feel like the tests that USADA are running are definitely a lot more sensitive than the other tests that are being administered. And we've seen that in boxing recently where, a guy gets popped. I think it was Tyrone Spong, right? Because Tyrone Spong was supposed to fight Alexander Usyk, and one of the agencies' tests was just a lot more sensitive than the other ones. So, I mean, they should at least be uniform with their testing. But I don't know. It's very confusing. I don't know if they're doing it on purpose, though. I mean, if Luke Thomas is saying that they kind of did this intentionally, I don't know about that, man. I think that's a stretch. I don't think the UFC would want to compromise a fight like this. Too Lucky, 100% don't believe he's on steroids. Too Lucky says that. And MTMTA 2009 is saying, is weed still illegal for UFC? I mean, I think weed has, something. I'm sure weed has something in it that is labeled a banned substance by some of these agencies, so I would imagine it is. Why Too Lucky, says Marco Martinez. Why is he not, but someone like John Jones was? They both deny it. Weed is legal out of competition, says Marco Martinez. Well, there you go. Too Lucky says his lifestyle and fight style doesn't match up with steroids. He doesn't rely on power, and his stamina has always been on point. That's true, but he's a lot more chiseled than he was. He looks a lot stronger than he was, and that's kind of piqued my interest about this entire situation. Suleiman, UFC fans pick and choose when to believe USADA. If it's against John Jones, 100% guilty. If it's Nate Diaz, conspiracy, 100% invalid. Suleiman, bro. Suleiman, you're my guy in this chat right now, Suleiman. I'm loving it. WCO3, hey, thanks for joining the chat, brother. Much appreciated. He hit one. MTMT A 2009 hit one. Suleiman hit one. Vladimir Kraft hit one. Marco Martinez hit one. But MMA has a dictator. Well, boxing has dictators, plural. Excuse me. Too Lucky. His body would look different, and I follow him on IG. He looks the same. Everything about boxing besides the trainers, fighters, is bullshit. MTMTA 2009, I really don't think it's steroids for Nate, but would you be surprised? I don't know. I would be surprised if Nate was on steroids. I would be surprised. I would think that's kind of weird. Because, like he said, man, he doesn't even eat meat. I mean, what would he be doing? I don't know. Maybe he's trying to supplement his diet. Who knows? Suleiman, Too Lucky. Diaz is in the best shape of his career. Not saying that means anything. Too Lucky. Boxing, this is the first sport ever created. Even though boxing, MMA isn't a sport, it's a war game. It's a war game. I like it. Okay. Let's take a look at Nate Diaz, right? Does anyone know in here how old Nate Diaz is? 34 years old. Think about it, guys. At 34 years of age, he's looking to be in the best shape of his life. It's starting to smell fishy. But let's wait. Let's see. Let's not, cast any stones until we figure out exactly what happened. And, yeah, let's do that. Let's not pass any judgment on the man. Marco Martinez, I invite you to check out how he looked his second Conor fight and his last run at 170. He's getting older, but looks better than ever. If it's not steroids, more power to him. So, man, Marco, 100% agree. It's always an eyebrow raiser when fighters look in better shape the older they get. Yeah. Too Lucky. Diaz is a real 170 right now. When he was younger, he could make 155 easy, but it gets harder to cut weight when you get older. John Jones does coke and drinks often. Nate isn't on that party shit. Nate just chills and smokes weed. True that. Peligroso says Haney and Charlo should throw that WBC belt in the trash and go the IBF route. You should see Murillo Suleiman's BS explanation when the boxing voice was pressing him with tough questions. I think you meant Mauricio Suleiman. I think that is the guy who's the head of the WBC. I didn't see the Boxing Voices interview with Mauricio Suleiman, but I'll definitely check it out. It's just ridiculous to me, man, what they're doing to boxing. You know, I love boxing. I grew up watching boxing. And I do boxing once in a while myself. I train, a couple times a week. I love boxing. I watch every boxing fight. And it's just a real damn shame the way they've eroded boxing culture. It's a real damn shame. MTA 2009 says he's Mexican. When the fuck did he stop eating carne asada? LOL. Oh my God. Well, carne asada is delicious, but I think Al Pastor might have its number. And I can understand. Actually, I can't understand how anybody would give up carne asada, but definitely, if they told me that I could never have another Al Pastor taco again in my life, man, I would be one depressed human being. I would not be a happy camper. So that's all I'm going to say about that. IBF has some of the stupidest rules and regulations when it comes to their belts. They're all bad, Marco Martinez says. And that's true. All of these sanctioning bodies, man, they're just money grabs. That's all they are. They want to be involved in the sport, so they created a sanctioning body that would, I guess, send out referees or whatever they do, or, sanction these fights, or, dictate who gets what belt and when. And I mean, there's a regular belt, and there's the WB, I think it's the WBA has like a regular belt, and then there's like silver belts, and there's international belts. It's just so stupid, you guys. I just can't take that shit anymore, man. Peligroso says, even if Loma or Canelo loses their next fight, they still keep the franchise tag. What kind of BS is that? Because that's it. They're a franchise player. I think Mauricio Suleiman just finished doing his WBC convention in Cancun, Mexico, which I really want to get invited to. So we're not going to keep talking trash about the WBC, because let's face it, we all want to go to Cancun, right? So Cancun, Mexico, he just did his WBC convention there. And I think he realized the importance, or further realized the importance of having these big names perpetually tied to your organization. I mean, I think I'm right about that. How else do you perpetually tie some of the greatest fighters in the world to your organization? You create a belt that lasts forever, and you attach it to the most popular, the most recognized fighters in the world. Mauricio Suleiman is a fucking genius, okay? So you guys, even though boxing is corrupt and full of bullshit, from a business standpoint, that is a fucking brilliant, calculated, shrewd move. And but I still think, boxing has a lot of fucked up shit going on. See the G, thank you so much for joining the chat, brother. Much appreciated. He says, so what's this I hear about Nate being cleared to fight now? Is this true? This is a fucking roller coaster. That's what they're saying, bro. That's what they're saying. They're saying that he's not, provisionally suspended. And you saw what they did with John Jones. They just, moved it to another state. I mean, they got their ways around this bullshit. I told everybody, worst comes to worst, I'll take this shit to the Indian reservation. But they set it up for Madison Square Garden, man. So you can't really replace Madison Square Garden. That's a one-of-a-kind venue. So it's a fucking roller coaster. We're on the way up, and that shit is about to hit the tip and drop. So let's see what the fuck happens. Too Lucky, do you agree that these bare-knuckle boxing organizations are a shame, feeding off old UFC fame and risking fighters' health for nothing really? Too Lucky, there's a market for bare-knuckle. I don't like it. I think bare-knuckle is a bullshit sport. I don't think it makes you the toughest guy. I don't think it requires the most skill. I actually did an entire thing on social media about bare knuckle where I compared it to our rule set, the unified rules kickboxing set that we use in fighters rep. My fighters have to know how to punch, they have to know how to kick, they have to be able to defend against those. They can clinch with one hand, but typically it's broken up, so the action is nonstop, so they have to have crazy cardio. And the only difference that makes bare knuckle more dangerous than our fights is obviously the fact that they're not using gloves. But you can't kick in bare knuckle. And the bare knuckle rounds are only 2 minutes, just like our rule set, but you can clinch. So in theory, you can just grab the guy for 2 minutes and not get any shots off, and it'd be stupid as fuck. Also, like a bare knuckle fight, you can't kick, you can't, I mean, yeah, knuckles hurt, you guys. Bare knuckles to the face hurt, but nothing hurts more than a bare shin to your face. And so I try to tell people, don't be sold on the fucking barbarism of that sport. How barbaric that sport is, where two guys are going in there bare knuckle and trying to knock each other out. Yeah, I mean, it sucks and it's tough, but is it really tougher than kickboxing? Is it really tougher than MMA, where you can get hit with a shin and get, your fucking face caved in? I mean, we've seen somebody get their face caved in MMA. Think Michael Venom Page on what he did to Cyborg. So, I don't know if bare knuckle is as badass as people make it out to be, but there's that fucking sideshow, crowd that loves that shit, and I respect it. I mean, I'll watch it if there's nothing on, just to entertain myself. But it's not something that I think is great. I think it tears up the fighters' faces. You get cut easily from that, and then your future in the sport is kind of fucked because all that scar tissue will just open up in any fight you get into. So I'm not really a big fan of it. I don't think it's good for longevity. And it seems that a lot of the guys that go there are either like has-beens or couldn't make it in another sport. So I mean, it has that reputation, and I don't. It's not really my thing. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. Peligroso says, don't forget that Tyson Fury just won the WBC Mayan belt. Holy shit, bro. Suleiman. One governing body can have two world champs in the same weight division at the same time. WBC is a joke. Yep, and probably more than that, too. Don't forget, they got like regional titles and shit. Silver, bronze. I don't know what the fuck they come up with. Suleiman, next belt is WBC Aztec belt. Oh, fuck. Hey, I want the Aztec belt, man. That sounds badass. Breakfast for dinner 24/7. Thank you so much for joining the chat. Much appreciated. He says Ronda. And then he writes Ronda versus Masvidal 2. Hey, I'm down to watch it if they make it. Suleiman, bare knuckle only for me. First fighter to break their hand wins. Vladimir Kraft, I don't like bare knuckle boxing too. Peligroso, can you elbow and knee in your organization? Yeah, well, so with unified rules, kickboxing, Peligroso, with fighters rep, you can't elbow, but you can knee. Knees are allowed. Elbows are not allowed. And the reason is, elbows are typically in Muay Thai rules. So I was doing mixed rules where I had Muay Thai, which is, there's full Muay Thai, modified Muay Thai, and kickboxing. The full Muay Thai allows for clinching and elbows. The reason I didn't like it is because, again, these rounds are 2 minutes. When you hit the pros, it's 3 minutes. So, I mean, if the guys are clinching for the whole 2 or 3 minutes and struggling with each other clinching, then basically, I mean, the crowd just came to watch a wrestling match. And that's not what I want to give the crowd, and that's not what, especially the American public, is paying for. The Westerners are not really crazy about that. There are traditionalists, and I do respect the clinch aspect. I think it's fucking tough, and they'll beat the shit out of you, in the clinch. Some of these guys. I mean, it's very hard. It's a fighting style and an art in and of itself, being in the clinch, but it's just not something that's entertaining. It's very traditional. And I just don't feel like it makes for an exciting fight a lot of the time. unless you appreciate that aspect. It's kind of like in the UFC. When the guys are standing and banging it out, everybody's having a great time. But as soon as they hit the ground, if you don't appreciate and have knowledge of the ground game, which most people don't, it's just going to end up being boring for people. So I really like the kickboxing rule set. Another reason I stopped with the mixed rule set is because officials were getting confused, fighters were getting confused, guys were clinching, guys weren't clinching. So I said, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to stick to unified rules, kickboxing. We're the only kickboxing promotion in the state of California at this point. And I think we're doing it pretty big. You know, we definitely have a long way to go. So I appreciate any donations to the channel and the super chat. You know, we're on here at 9 o'clock almost every fucking day. We upload fights all the time. We do interviews with fighters. I was going to try to get a fighter on the live stream today, but I'll probably get him on next time. He's a guy who, he's a fantastic fighter. He just knocked somebody out. And the guy he knocked out in his last fight, which is a Muay Thai fight, the guy he knocked out is getting a WBC title shot, and he keeps getting looked over, even though he just finished this guy. So, I mean, it's just, the bullshit doesn't just stop at boxing. It's infected other combat sports, and that's something that I don't want to see happen. And that's why we're always shitting on the boxing establishment and the combat sports establishment and culture on this channel, because it's corrupt and we need to, you know, call it out for what it is. And I was trying to get him on the show tonight. He's busy. He's got clients, but I promise you we'll get him on soon. And you guys can hear it right from him. So let's see what else we got in this chat. Can you elbow knee in your organization? I like that matchup, but I think Cejudo deserves that Ronda fight before Masvidal, says Suleiman. That'd be hilarious if Cejudo actually fought a female. That guy's crazy. Too lucky. I see no skill and all brute force. Breakfast for dinner 24/7. They should allow headbutts, right? No headbutts, brother. WCO3. Paulie Malignaggi and Artem Lobov was all I needed to see. Hot trash. I agree, man. Breakfast for dinner 24/7. King Cringe versus Rousey. Hell yeah. And then he asks, you think Diaz will end up fighting? I think he will. You know, it depends what it is they found in his system. I don't know. We'll see. It depends what it is they found in his system and whether the New York Athletic Commission will license him or not. Too lucky. Are flying knees legal in kickboxing? Too lucky. Yeah, they are. I believe they are, because a lot of the guys, since you can't clinch, what they do is they kind of like counter with a knee, or they'll punch and then they'll jump into a knee, jump into giving the guy a knee. So I believe like flying knees are legal for sure, and we've actually had a stoppage with something like that recently. Vladimir Kraft, Ronda with a gun versus Masvidal. I will watch. Suleiman, Ronda would 100% beat Floyd Mayweather. Joe Rogan. Suleiman, Holly Holm, hold my hair tie. Vladimir Kraft, she will in a grappling or judo match. That's true, Vladimir. Breakfast for dinner. What do you think about my guy Johnny Walker? All hype or real deal? I think that guy's the real deal, man. I think that guy's a real deal. When he grabbed what's his face in that tie clinch and just elbowed him and knocked him out, that guy, you know who the guy I'm talking about is, man. That guy's a real tough guy. The guy that was on, I think he was on the Tough Show or something like that. That 205er, the one that beat Eric Anders recently. Man, Johnny Walker did that dude dirty. I was like, damn, Johnny Walker's a killer, bro. Too lucky. My grandma can see that Johnny Walker's the real deal. Come on now. Haha. Too lucky. Paulie would play with Lobov in the ring. Oh my God, that was, you guys. That Lobov Malignaggi fight was a fucking circus, man. If you guys haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Much appreciated. Please do so if you haven't subscribed. and click the bell notification icon next to the subscribe button below, you guys. It'll let you guys know when we're on. We're typically on every single day, or at least every other day at this point, at 9 p.m. Pacific. If you click that bell notification icon, it'll let you know when we're on, and you can just jump in the chat. Man, I love having you guys in here. You know, this is a good strong chat we're building. There are no trolls that ever come in here. If they do, they kind of get ignored into oblivion and then turn into, contributing chatters. I'm really surprised. When I started the channel, I had a lot of kind of weirdos and shit talking shit on here, but it seems that I got like a lot of level-headed people in here now, so I appreciate you guys for that. Suleiman, anyone who knew anything about Paulie knew his hand would break. That's true. That's true. Breakfast for dinner. Yeah, but UFC eats its young. Hopefully they won't throw him to Jones too fast. And thank you, Breakfast for Dinner, for subscribing. That's much appreciated, brother. I don't know. Did you guys see that little Canelo icon? Did that pop up? I hope it did. Fun little thing I'm doing here on the channel. Trying to step up the technology game here. And you should see the icon that comes up when you guys donate to the channel. Could this Diaz Fails Drug Test be a big publicity stunt to hype this fight up more and steal attention away from Canelo versus Kovalev on the same night? Peligroso? I would not. That's a conspiracy I can get behind. That is a conspiracy that I can get behind. I think it's a hard sell. But man, if you've seen the shit, I only just got my pro license. I haven't been promoting we've been promoting 2 years. That's it, only 2 years. Our 2-year anniversary was not even a month ago with Fighters Rep, and with the shit I've already seen, and the way people just do things in general, man, I wouldn't put that past anyone. This is all politics, just like anything else. And they basically took the head of USADA and kind of made him a UFC employee. So, I mean, that's something that could happen, man. That's definitely something that could happen, peligroso. And that's a very astute, intelligent theory you have there. A lot of people might laugh at it. But that's something that I could see happening, and they can easily sweep it under the rug and say, "Oh, it was a mistake." We thought that, it was the wrong. We got the test mixed up, or the results are sort of, a little bit higher than usual, but not enough to be abnormal. Maybe this guy just has higher levels of testosterone than most people, or whatever. I mean, they can cover it up however the hell they want, and what's strange, that makes me think about the whole Tyrone Spong situation, because they're saying that I think they said his B sample was negative after his A sample was positive. So who knows, man? They can just say it was a false positive, right? So it's a lot of bullshit. Suleiman, Breakfast for Dinner. Johnny is the one who keeps asking for it, though. So if it happens and ends up getting destroyed by John, nobody to blame but himself. Well, I mean, yeah, but you got to expect the guy... to, want to fight the best guys. I mean, you got to expect him to want to fight the best guys. So, I got nothing but respect for Johnny Walker. I mean, he wants to fight the best. He wants to be the best. And you got to go through John Jones to be the best, because he's the best right now. So, I don't think he'll mind blaming himself if he loses. I mean, this is competition. That's the way cookie crumbles, Suleiman. Too Lucky says, this weekend is going to be amazing for the fight world. I think this weekend is going to be badass for boxing. But I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, Too Lucky. Please expand on what you're saying. Jamaican boxing, big up yourself, my general. What's up, brother? Thank you so much for joining the chat, my man. Much appreciated, as usual. Let's see. All right. So, shit. Vladimir Kraft, I think Dana will make this fight happen. He invested too much money into promo and that belt. He would turn from pink to red to waste such amount of money and opportunity to earn more. I agree, man. At the end, a picogram will not matter. I agree with that too, brother. Because whatever it's done, it's already done it. Peligroso, you know Dana and Oscar got hella beef too. That's true. That's true. They got beef and they got Mexican beef, if you know what I mean. Canelo Alvarez. Too lucky. Canelo versus Kovalev is going to be a war for Canelo. Kov is longer, sharper, and sets traps better than Golovkin. Golovkin has more power and durability. You know, too lucky. I don't think Kovalev... Honestly, I don't think Kovalev can beat Canelo at this point in his career, man. But maybe I'm wrong. Jamaican boxing this time next week. Tuesday, Nate Diaz will be cleared to fight. Jamaican boxing with the prediction. Much appreciated, my man. Too lucky, November 2nd weekend. I mean, haha, my bad. Regis Prograis is going to shine this weekend, though. Man, that Regis Prograis versus Josh Taylor fight this weekend. Plus, we've got Derek Chisora versus David Price on the undercard where anybody can go at any time. That's going to be a sick fight, though. And again, that Prograis versus Taylor fight is going to be sick, man. It's going to be real sick. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Too lucky. Not beat, but make it a war. I got Canelo winning by decision or late stoppage. I think the same. I think Canelo wins by decision or late stoppage. I think Canelo's going to walk in on that inside, and he's going to just bang to the body, and he's going to be able to stop Kovalev because, let's face it, Andre S.O.G. Ward set out the blueprint on how to beat Sergey Kovalev. You go to the body, and you go to the body hard, and you fight him on the inside where he's physically not very strong. He's got a strong punch, but physically he's not very strong. That's what Andre Ward said. He fought him on the inside and absolutely decapitated him in that second fight. So he set the blueprint. Canelo's going to follow the blueprint. Canelo just, 28, 29 years old versus an aged Sergey Kovalev who's in the very end of his career. And I just don't think he's going to have the durability to handle Canelo's body punches through the entirety of that fight. And even if he does, I think he still loses by decision because Canelo's going to be ripping to that body. Jamaican Boxing says, Nate Diaz, a real G. Jamaican Boxing, thank you so much again for your donation and for your generosity. Thank you on behalf of all the fighters that fight for Fighters Rep and on behalf of myself and the channel. It's much appreciated. Man, I want to be able to do this shit full time. You guys have no idea how hard I work, so that's the goal. And I can definitely only do that with donations. So it's much appreciated. Thank you so much. Also, if you want to get your Fighters Rep gear, man, these shirts are pretty dope. They kind of sell out pretty fast at the shows. They're in the links below, and I really appreciate you guys. Too Lucky says, fighters should watch how Kovalev uses his jab. He knocked out a couple fighters with his jab. Yeah, but let's be fair. He knocked out Anthony Yarde with the jab in the last fight, but he knocked out Anthony Yarde because Anthony Yarde was exhausted, not because the jab was, a devastating knockout punch. Granted, he's got a very hard jab, but Anthony Yarde was basically trying to finish the fight, emptied his gas tank, and just couldn't even stand up on his own legs anymore. Got caught with a jab, went down, and that was it. Just couldn't even get back up. He was so tired. Peligroso saying Shakur Stevenson versus Joette Gonzalez this weekend too. They're talking about Shakur dating Joette's sister. So there's some personal beef going on there. Yeah, but I mean, does Joette have a shot, Peligroso? I mean, let's be honest. Does Joette Gonzalez have a shot to beat Shakur Stevenson? I mean, let's take a look at the odds, right? It's typical boxing bullshit, right? I'm going to pull up the odds for you guys right now because why? Because I care about you guys. Yo te quiero, peligroso. Let's check out what they're going to say right here. Shakur Stevenson, Joet Gonzalez, odds. Okay, this is going to be a fun one. I might be wrong about this. Maybe this is going to be close. Nope, Shakur Stevenson, a minus 400 favorite. A minus 400 favorite. And the LA native, Joet Gonzalez, a plus 300 underdog. So even though Gonzalez has nearly double the pro experience of Stevenson, he didn't win an Olympic silver medal. And I don't see how Gonzalez can beat Stevenson. He's shorter. Oh, but he's actually got a longer reach, which is surprising. But he's orthodox. Stevenson is a southpaw. Interesting. But either way, a heavy underdog. And that's for a reason. Jamaican boxing. Canelo's going to outbox him. That's it. When was the last time Canelo finished anyone? Rocky Fielding. Shaking my... Yeah, Jamaican. But look. Sergey Kovalev, right? Sergey Kovalev almost got knocked out almost got dropped by Yard in his last fight. And now he's 36 years old. Is Sergey Kovalev. This man is 36 years old fighting a freaking bull. And Kovalev lost twice to Andre Ward. Then beat Vyacheslav Shabransky and Igor Mikhalkin, who are, whoever they are. Then lost by TKO to Eleider Alvarez. Then beat Eleider Alvarez in a rematch in a unanimous decision. Then beat Yard by TKO. So, I mean, he's been losing in his Jamaican boxing, bro. I can't deal with you right now, my man. Oh, my God. Thank you. Thank you so much for the donation again. And for saying that Joet Gonzalez mad his sister getting blacked. Oh, my goodness. That's horrific. That's horrific, Jamaican boxing. Yeah, Too Lucky is saying, I've seen him drop fresh fighters with the jab. Who was it that he dropped fresh with the jab? I mean, I don't remember that. Who was it? Peligroso, LOL. Jamaican boxing, Canelo's going to outbox him. Okay, yeah, we already went through that. Too Lucky, the jab controls everything in boxing, MMA, kickboxing, etc. I agree, Too Lucky. I don't know why people don't use the jab more. Suleiman, Nate Diaz response of y'all are on steroids, not me, is equivalent to, I know you are, but what am I? You got him on that one, Suleiman. You got him, brother. So, Jamaican boxing, I still can't get over this Joet Gonzalez mad, his sister getting blacked. But, hopefully they'll record that and I can watch it on, one of those websites where we watch that on. Too Lucky. Have you heard the story of Canelo sparring 3 guys when he was 18 getting ready for a fight? And one of them took a beating, went to sleep, and never woke up again. Canelo has scary power if you know boxing. Early fights then weren't televised. Haha, damn, that's fucking scary, man. And that's sad that kind of shit happens, man. There should always be like a coach or somebody to say, okay, that's it. You're getting your ass kicked, get out, But some of these situations can't be helped, Some people just, maybe they've already taken too many shots. Maybe they got some sort of weakness in their skull. I mean, it's just a scary situation with boxing, man. People can just like up and die in boxing, man. It's crazy. Like 4 deaths this year already, you guys. 4 deaths in a year. My people, it's like crazy. How the hell 4 deaths in 1 year, man? I I don't even remember people dying in boxing, and then all of a sudden you get 4. It's fucked up, man. It's fucked up, and that's why we can't have these mismatches. We can't have these A side versus B side fights. We can't do that, man. We cannot do that. So Too Lucky saying, even I've seen coaches feed lesser fighters to their up and comers. Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. That's kind of that might be what's happening to Joet Gonzalez, but we'll see. We'll see. I hate to say that a guy just has no shot, man, but fucking boxing loves that, man. The boxing establishment has a hard on for the A side, B side fights and for undefeated padded records. Holy shit, man. Like if you're undefeated in MMA, then you're special. If you're undefeated in boxing, then you're every other fucking guy until you fight somebody with a pulse. But every guy starts 10-0, 20-0, 12-0, whatever it is. And I know the way it works. I mean, I got friends in the boxing community, and God, man, they take their guys to New Zealand, or they take their guys to the Dominican Republic, or they get them to beat up all these tomato cans, and they build up the records, and it's one of these. It stinks. I don't like it. But that's just the way it is. Suleiman, too much weight bullies. That's true. A lot of weight bullying going on. But hey, I mean, if you can make the weight and not, lose your brain or get knocked unconscious, then I guess more power to you, man. Now in California, I think they're implementing some kind of hydration rule. I think they said if you gain back more than 10% or something like that, they're not going to let you compete, which is interesting. I guess it's for safety purposes. I don't know. I mean, any sort of safety measure that's taken, I'm cool with, but it has to make sense. I think it has to be researched before they implement it. And we'll see what it does, man. I know that there were, even at my shows, they were weighing the guys in the day of the fight after weighing them in the day before. Because I do day before weigh-ins, because I actually did a vote, right? Listen to how fucking democratic this was, right? I did a vote online. Not even online. I texted every coach that I've worked with and a lot of the fighters, and I said, day before weigh-in or day of, and the majority picked day before. And so I started doing day before weigh-ins because the IKF gave me that option. Whereas Camo, which is the MMA amateur sanctioning body, the only one in California, doesn't give you that option. So I went with the IKF day before weigh-ins, and CSAC also allows you to do day before. That's the governing body, the sanctioning body for professional out here in California. But they've been measuring guys, and I was like, why are you guys measuring their weight, or why are you weighing them the day of the fight if you guys already weighed them yesterday? And they said, oh, it's, just for some kind of research purposes, and I guess eventually they use that information to come up with this new rule. So I don't know. We'll see if it works out or not, or if they're just going to be fucking with my fights. Jamaican boxing. What is your view on Loma being franchise champion? Be honest. Jamaican boxing, I think it's bullshit. We kind of talked about that earlier on, and it's funny that you bring that up. It's bullshit, but Jamaican boxing, I'm going to tell you what it is, right? That's our boy, Mauricio Suleiman, down in Mexico, down in Cancun, being real slick. I gave everybody my theory on why he did that, right? He's making Lomachenko franchise champion, and I think he's doing something with Canelo too, somebody in the chat mentioned. And I guess you can't lose that title as franchise champion. And what he's doing is he's just associating his commission, his business, the WBC, with the best fighters in the game permanently, so that when he does do his WBC conventions and stuff in the future, because he just did it over the weekend, he just did a convention in Cancun. When he does those, these guys are forever tied to his organization. So, I mean, he could just bring them down, show them off, further kind of lend credibility to the WBC. Not that it needs it, but it just continues to add credibility to WBC and his business. So it's bullshit. Haney being upgraded to regular champion is also bullshit. It's 100% bullshit all across the board, brother. Daniel Aeon, thank you so much for joining the chat. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. He says, like Pritchard Colon. Yes, like Pritchard Colon. That was a fucking horrible situation, man. He got punched like in the back of his head and stuff. And, man, that was really sad. And I've seen video of him trying to recover. And, God, that's horrible to watch. And I always bring up Magomed Abdusalamov, who was actually like a friend of mine, for a while. And I haven't seen him since his fight because he was up in New York, and I guess he stayed there. But he was living in South Florida, and I got to know him, and then he got basically a career-ending injury in his fight against, I believe it was Mike Perez, in order to determine who was going to fight Klitschko. I guess the winner didn't end up fighting Klitschko, but it was in Madison Square Garden, and it was the same kind of issue as Pritchard Colon, as Patrick Day. Obviously Patrick Day didn't make it, which sucks, but another one of these situations where there was a traumatic brain injury. Too Lucky said Rocky Fielding was undefeated, haha, and he didn't really look like a seasoned boxer. Too Lucky, I smoke large amounts of potent cannabis after fights or spars, haha. Oh, Lucky, do you fight? That's interesting. Suleiman, Too Lucky, watch out for the tainted cannabis. I hear it can elevate your testosterone. Oh my God. Suleiman, you're going to freak everybody out, brother. That's what you're going to do. Too Lucky, I grow my own. You guys, man. Suleiman, WBC stands for Wicked Boxing Corruption. Dillian White is going to have to wait another 16 months now. That's the number one bullshit for me, man, is my boy Dillian White. Man, I need to see this man fight for a fucking title. Dillian White should have gotten a fight against Deontay Wilder, not Luis Ortiz. Who wants to see Luis Ortiz versus Wilder? Look, if you'd rather see Dillian White versus Wilder, press number 1. If you'd rather see Luis Ortiz, press number 2. I just want to see Dillian White number 1, Luis Ortiz number 2. Let me know what you guys think. Forgive me, I did Muay Thai class today at CMMA, Chad George's gym down in Gardena, and oh my God, you guys, I think he was trying to kill us. I really think he was trying to kill us, you guys. It was really fucked up. I'm so dead, and I'm sitting here drinking water and juice and all kinds of stuff, and I feel so exhausted. But, we're pushing through. It's 10:18, you guys. Time flies when you're having fun. Let's see, Suleiman says, I think he should give up on WBC route, to be honest. I think Dillian should go for WBO or a different route. I agree, 16 months. I mean, your fucking career can end in 16 months, and he's already been trying so hard. It's ridiculous. Jamaican Boxing, I've got the solution for the fatalities in boxing. If you get knocked down, the opponent should be able to follow up instead of the 10 count. That's interesting, but I mean, then boxers would have to learn ground and pound. And then that changes everything. That changes the entire sport, If boxers have to learn ground and pound. Suleiman, number 1. Jamaican Boxing, 1. But the body snatcher would break some duck ribs of Wilder. Daniel Aon saying Joshua and Wilder. Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to see Joshua. We gotta see if Joshua gets his belts back from Andy Ruiz at the end of the year. That's gonna be a fun fight too. I think Joshua does it, man. I think Joshua does it. I know a lot of you guys don't agree with me, but I think Anthony Joshua beats Andy Ruiz in the rematch. I think he got a little too excited when he knocked him down in that first fight and walked right in to Andy Ruiz's wheelhouse. And I think he's too smart to do that stupid ass shit again. And he is going to definitely not do that this time. Probably going to box long. They say he's slimmer. So I imagine he's going to be moving around and boxing a lot more. Peligroso saying Usyk just got to heavyweight and Eddie has his title shot lined up already. Dillian is the odd man out. That's fucked up, man, for real. Too lucky. 6 amateur boxing fights, but I'm thinking about some MMA or kickboxing because of these boxing deaths. Yeah, I mean, that's probably a good idea, my man. You can always come fight for us at Fighters Rep, my brother. Kickboxing, if you ever want to make it out. If you're in California. If you're outside California, that's a bit of a hard sell. But, you know, maybe in the future. Suleiman, I'd even like to see AJ versus White too. White has gotten much better since then. I agree. White has gotten much better since then, man. And White's a dog, man. He's going to fight you. He's going to fight you. Jamaican boxing, but the body snatcher, a 2-time drug cheat. Well, like Nate Diaz says, Jamaican boxing, they're all on steroids. Everybody. Everyone is on steroids, Jamaican boxing. So, if you believe Nate Diaz, that's what it is. You guys, it's 10:21. I've been on this chat a lot more than I should have. But I appreciate you guys. I'm only on here because you guys are engaging, and I really appreciate it. I love having you guys on the channel. I really appreciate everything you guys have done. Let's continue to grow this thing. You know, this is a page where people can come and give their opinions and talk about combat sports. And I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. It's continuing to grow, and I'm really enjoying the results. I'll also have a date for you guys for the next Fighters Rep event. I think you guys will really enjoy it. I'm also uploading fights. We're uploading fights like every day. Interviews once in a while, so definitely check it out. But I gotta sign out, you guys. It's freaking 10:22, and I gotta wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go do my bullshit. My bullshit all the way in downtown LA and everything else, and work on this promotion. And it's a tiring life, you guys. So we'll talk soon. Too Lucky said, I'm in El Paso, Texas. I don't think there are any kickboxing places out here. WCL3 says, Josh was chin too suspect now. Needs to go to modeling with Luke Rockhold. Daniel Ion, I like to smoke a little cannabis laced with roids. Oh, my God. And Too Lucky, what are the weight classes for your organization? Too Lucky, you could just Google IKF California, and that's the sanctioning body. That's the only sanctioning body that allows for amateur kickboxing in the state of California. Even when I do the pro shows, I do AMI fights as well. So you want to check out their weight classes on their site. Hey, you guys have a great night. I really appreciate you guys. You guys rock. Knucklehead Nation in the house, but I'm out. So we'll probably be on tomorrow to talk about the Pro Gray Taylor prediction. We'll do a prediction on Chisora and Price. So I'll see you guys same time, 9 p.m., baby.